Hey guys, welcome to another video. So I'm playing a Warlock this time around. This is single player hard mode. Check out the perks. So an obvious one is the Dark Pact, just because I am playing with acid spells. I've never used them yet, so I want to be able to use them. And what better way to test the strength of them than at their fullest, and in hard mode, so you can comment on balance and things like that. And Wild Sorcery, this was just kind of a trait that I think honestly stemmed from a challenge when the Thehell2 was first introduced. It's basically to go through the game without using any potion, just using, like, well, exactly what it is. Remember how to play here. And it's kind of hard now because all the buttons. Typically, the start of the game is a little rough for me because I'm used to all the standard hotkeys. I'm not used to the ones that you sort of send up yourself. But and I also usually skip ahead the first couple levels because, well, they're just pretty easy and honestly I think kind of boring. I remember myself saying that before. But as you can see, I'm only on level 1 here. I did about the first quarter of the level and I just thought, you know, I've died a lot. And I don't know if that's because just not having Firebolt early on is, you know, difficult, but also I guess there's this chain boss. Like right here, there's a boss that's chained and I don't really know why, but so he ends up being way over this way somewhere. I was deciding what to do with the stat points, and I'm not sure. It's nice to have health regeneration early on, but I did find a book of healing, so the faster I get that, well, then I won't need life regeneration from the first 5 points of vitality. As for gear, though, I guess it doesn't really matter what I get. Maybe there's some uniques that I'd like to drop that require, like, strength or vitality. I know there's, like, a robe with identified charges. That would be kind of cool. Alright, there's the life regen. So, typically I try and just, like, stack one thing, one type of stat. But I find that it's kind of hard to get used to the game again. It's been a long break for me, so I'm gonna start things nice and easy. But as I was saying, yeah, as I regenerate mana here, I'll talk about Wild Sorcery. It basically came to be, I imagine, from that challenge that was put out. But the Thehell2 was so similar to the Thehell1 at that point that it was basically just a bug check. There were some minor changes, and basically the community was just kind of asked to like go through if you wanted to play the Thehell1 and just see if there's any bugs. And honestly, I didn't really like I had done a lot of playthroughs back then, and I didn't really feel like, you know, going all the way through with this challenge in mind, even though I basically, that's how I play, right? Like, most mages, I would assume, favor, like, charges of mana. I mean, I'd say early on regeneration is better. Or maybe not better, but it feels smoother. it's not as annoying when you just have to, you know, like right there. I don't know if the Warlock has good regeneration or not, but it really doesn't feel that bad to wait this amount of time. So, but yeah, I never really use that type of damage, or that type of spell. Man, I can't talk and play mage anymore, this is terrible. Used to be so easy. But yeah, when in emergency situations, I would kind of pop potions, but it's almost like it was never needed. Like, I'd have to play dangerously, or just kind of like play stupidly to get into a spot where I had to use potions on a mage 99% of the time. So I figure it's a nice way to challenge myself, but in a way that's not, I don't know, it's easily verifiable. You can just, like, I just can't use potions. Like, when I hover over potion, it just says I cannot use it, so. It's nice to have that just kind of, like, lock you down. Whereas before, when, like, a challenge like that was made, it was really just, you know, you say that you're not going to do it, and you record it, and you don't do it, but I don't know. I'll definitely die because of that trait. Like, it'll 100% kill me. There will be times where I just would have lived if I did not have that negative effect on me. But that's good, because if I do use that trait, then I can kind of judge the state of spells. And what I mean by that is that spells, right before I left, spells got adjusted heavily, so that they did way less damage. They didn't scale as exponentially, I don't think. All types of things. I remember this guy killed me 2 or 3 times. I keep underestimating how hard he hits. So I'll give myself a lot of distance here. Just not gonna be able to kill him? Is my regeneration just not as good as his? I don't think it is, honestly. I know there's a book of Firebolt, so if I do run really far ahead, I could, like, go in there, kill for the book, and then come back and probably kill him, but I don't know. Otherwise, I just have to spam this and hope that he gets poisoned enough.
Not enough mana. Not enough mana.
And typically I play multiplayer. I just find that the health pools and the challenge is there. It's kind of a shame that, you know, the quests aren't there, because there is a new quest, the Ravenhill quest, I think it's called. So I wanted to try that, and I wasn't sure. I was either going to go for an Inquisitor or, I don't know, some mage like this, Elementalist who has cold spells. But, alright, let's try Firebolt. But I decided on this because multiplayer still hasn't been worked out. I don't say it's like it's terrible or anything. It's just that, you know, there's work that's going to be done on multiplayer, and right now it's not in the sequence of events. So. Oh damn, Firebolt's not doing much better either.
Not enough mana.
Do they have a relic to mana? Nope. You might get stuck in here actually. This would be a decent spot for me to regenerate. There we go. So to race his regeneration against mine. And I think Warlocks have a little bit of an edge here. I'm not sure what the standard base mana regeneration is, but I know that later on, Warlocks have 32 base mana regeneration. I think standard mages and elementalists have a little bit less. Elementalists, the least. Mages, I think 24 or something. And honestly, I kind of thought this would be the joke class of like the mage-esque types. I don't really like mana regeneration when you just have charges of mana, but what really sold me was the perk. It's just, I looked at this, and the mages, and the elementalists, and, well, the mages is 50% more holy damage, but you lose 20% damage to all other elements. So, I actually don't mind that too much because typically
not enough mana.
Your hardest matchup on a mage is going to be undead or physical damage. And physical damage isn't really like that bad from what I remember. It's just kind of annoying that you can't really target one single enemy because knockback is on all your physical damage spells. But that's ultimately what it came down to. I was like, alright, well, that would change the way I play mage, and I would probably like it, you know, in some aspect. But, and I could handle it. Like, you don't need more fire and lightning damage, I don't think. You have, like, fire and lightning wall, so already you're, like, I won't say you're immune, but you're pretty damn safe. If you know, play defensively, you shouldn't be suffering from enemies that take fire or lightning damage. Arcane, sometimes you can get away with a stone curse, sometimes not, but yeah, physical is pretty rough, so. And I mean just stat per stat. You look at this and it's like, okay, well this is going to give me 50% more acid damage, which is the same thing, but it gives me like negative 24 mana regen, which I mean, that's a lot, but that's something I'd much rather sacrifice than just 20% of all my other spell damage. So. also perks got modified quite a bit while I was gone too. There's actually just so many of them that I'm interested in. I had saved my level 50 mage, and basically he just had I think 25 or 26 perk points left over. I'd never decided, and Mordor had always mentioned that, you know, elemental damage via your perks would be a thing. So I was just like, I'll wait out, and when new perks come along, I can test them on that character. And frankly, the mage was fine. Like, you would at that point in the game, I don't know how it is now. If things got heavily, it sounds like things got much worse for a mage, which is probably better. Like the damage was just too insane. But level up. There we go. I guess we could look at perks though. I'm not really sure which one I want. I mean, I think down the line, Acid Mastery is just kind of a given. And not because I think that, you know, Acid Mastery is the way. I just think that if I'm playing a caster that can only use Acid, I might as well grab the trait that, you know, involves Acid spell damage. And same thing with the Mastery. Like, I mean, it's like when you play a Savage and you have full access to, I guess, like, the damage perk. It goes up to 25 for them. It's like, well, if I'm going to play something like that, I might as well use that trait path. Or mages, like, they get the plus mana perk. It goes all the way up to 25. So it's like, well, you might as well use it. Otherwise, like, there's differences, but they're not, like, as substantial. The only reason I don't want to immediately invest in this is because, judging by the way poison damage seems right now, it's just about getting them poisoned and then just letting them, you know, decay. Which typically isn't mage play. It's, you know, burst something down, hopefully some casters or some archers, and then, you know, start separating groups out with walls and your golem and stumpers, and then, you know, slowly whittle things down. Well, not whittle, but like kill one thing at a time, focus everything on one target and lower the numbers. But this way a mage might be different. It might be, you know, I'm assuming, like, I'm making assumptions here. All that I have is Rancid Bolt. I'm assuming there's going to be a Blast Ball, Lightning Ball type spell, and there's also going to be a Nova. So with that assumption, maybe I just go in, teleport immediately, and like Rancid Nova. Kind of poison everything on the map, and then once everything's poisoned, I just do the traditional, like, way you'd play a mage. Because I can't see a point in spamming, like, Rancid Bolt, Blast. Something, like, when something is poisoned, I don't think there's much of a point to just keep hammering it with a suboptimal spell. But the other benefit is that there's a lot of fire and lightning immunity in Doom, from what I can tell later on. So if I could use acid, there's not as many acid immunities from what I can tell. Unless, like, things changed around a lot, I think there's not as many. So if I can just rely on one type of spell that isn't elemental, I mean, there's power to that too. I guess we're not going to try the Butcher. I guess it's safe to add. I don't know what I want to add here. I guess magic. Rush to healing. juggle with here. Well, that is 1 point for Wild Sorcery to kill me. And actually this whole build sort of just rides on the fact that, well, not the fact, the hope that I can use a Wand of Mana. Which I think I can. I just saw Rod Reflect on the last level, so I would assume that like mana as a charge spawns on like any of these wands that a Warlock can use. Some things that I would imagine will probably get in the way of this run.
Not enough mana. Not enough mana.
Jeez.
Not enough mana.
I lost my train of thought there. Something's gonna get in the way of this run, or probably the hotkeys. I heard earlier in May or the end of April that was something that was gonna be worked on, so. Wow.
Not enough mana.
It's hard to manage all the hotkeys because, especially if you play multiplayer. If you play multiplayer, you need heal other as a mage, I would think. Oh, +1 dex, nice. Seems like my memory hasn't faded either. I still remember what the shrines do, that's good. And if you need heal other, well, you're probably going to need staff recharge as one of your hotkeys because, you know, especially with Wild Sorcery, you can't go around and not have that, your mana up, or access to like a mana charge, so those two are kind of like a given. And then on top of that, you've got to have, I guess, whatever the ball spell is, and then a Nova, because there's not going to be a way to access that otherwise. So if there's only 3 acid spells, then maybe it could work. I'm trying to think what else I do. Oh, mana. Yeah, you need mana charges, so there's gonna have to be one spell that I just don't get to use because of this. Now, I mean, maybe as I do this playthrough, you know, oof, it'll be worked on, and it'll be finished near the end of my run, which is fine.
Not enough mana. Not enough mana.
But it also kind of, you know, swayed my decision. I don't want to play multiplayer if I'm going to have, like, hotkey issues.
Not enough mana.
And in single player, you do not need heal other, so. Another reason to play multiplayer. Or
Not enough mana.
What was that? Booklet of Black Magic, alright. also heard there was a change to Fury. Now it has a cooldown or something. Which I think is probably a good thing. I'm not positive, but I mean, maybe I could try it. There's no real harm in trying it, right? Fury cooldown, 3 minutes. Check here. Oh, spells got pumped up quite a bit. +2 spell levels, it looks like, yeah. I mean, on a mage, I don't really, like, rely too heavily on Fury. Like, it definitely has its purpose, but it's not something that, like, I want to blast into every single fight. Even if, like, you probably could, if you just did range damage. I like it better when you just, like, can go in and actually, like, take a couple hits from the enemies. As for melee classes, though, like, there are a lot of people I know who use that as, it's almost a crutch, really, like. Magic is what it seems to be. Shoot, I don't know what that did. You can identify this. Pretty rare to find amulets early on, from what I remember, so. Oh, nice, town portal. Hell yeah. But yeah, like gladiators and stuff, like, I don't know. When I was playing, if I didn't have Fury up, I just felt like I was playing a different character, and it sort of like halted my progression. Just because I needed it so much, but I don't know. I like the idea of a longer cooldown. It's not really a functioning spell either, where it's like, that's your only form of damage, like a spell. Like if you just put every single, like, Holy Bolt on a cooldown, like, that would drive people insane, because you need it to, like, actually kill things, but as long as there's, like, another option, aka just not using Fury, I think it'd be fine.
Not enough mana. Not enough mana. No.
Got a lot of stuff, and I've really just been picking up potions to see if I could sell them. I think they only sell for like 3 gold though, or something.
Greetings!
It's really small from what I remember. Oh.
I cannot use this yet. Greetings!
Repair all this garbage that I'll probably just replace. And nah. I do want to see if Adria will sell me
Hello, good friend.
something of mana, some wand of mana, but let's see. This is 3,600 then. I'm not gonna fish for it, but every time I come to town, I'll check. Dang. there's a setting that's now available where you can just turn all the quest randomizers off, so you'll get every single quest in a game. And I guess it's kind of counterintuitive, because originally I was like, well, why would you want the same spells every time you play? But I kind of see it the opposite way. There's a lot of games that I played where it's just like it didn't make sense to go back and do quests. It was just too hard. Because every time you try and fish for a quest, lucky you walked right on top of me. So every time you try and fish for a quest, you'd level up way too much, and you just kind of out-level all the quests that you wanted to do. So this way, I should just be able to do every single one of them on curve. Obviously, some of them will just be easy anyway because I'm a mage or whatever, too difficult because I'm, again, a mage or something, but I don't know. I think it's a good thing. And I mean, the other obvious benefit is that if I am gonna push this character to max stats so that I can, like, you know, comment on its viability late game, the Black Mushroom quest without any, you know, chance, that's gonna, like, cut my grind time way down. If I didn't play Inquisitor or the Warlock, though, I'd probably go with the Elementalist. It seems like the obvious choice with, like, its crit chance on spells. I read a spreadsheet that said that this character gets 8%, and I don't know if that changed or if that's just kind of made up on the spot, but yeah, the crits on this subclass of mage are lower. I think it's like 8% instead of the Elementalist 15%, and the damage of the crits is also not 200% or 175%. Instead, it's only like 1.5 times the damage you normally do. So, things like that made me want to play the Elementalist. But I know that I'm always eventually going to make one of those characters. And, like, once everything's done and good, it just seems like it's going to be the best class with the way I play. But mess on that. And also, I think I'd rather have that type of character in multiplayer. I mean, this one probably wouldn't be bad, but it seems like it actually has a better chance in quests, because it's not just like you have to hit the enemy. Like, I could hit the enemy a couple times and walk away, and that would actually be a way to kill it. The Elementalist, I just need constant contact with the enemy. Well, I guess now the best thing to do would... Here we resistance so early. Wow. Well, that's amazing.
No.
I guess that kind of makes sense. If this is like the mage, mage type of item, the offhands, the orbs, then they probably have some type of spellcasting effect on them. Forgot about that. Perks. There's another good one I tried too. Where is it here? Does this character not have it? Oh, they don't. Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, I really like there's one, what's it called? I forget the name, but basically you just, you have a chance to just dodge spells, which to me seems insane. Like, even if you just like cranked it up to pure numbers and like not the effective use of it, and just said, okay, half the spells that come at me are just going to miss. So like you have 50% range of damage reduction if you fully invest in it, maxed at 50%. It's just like, how is that a thing? Like on one hand you are taking away other defensive, like you could have extra resistance or maximum resistance, I think, instead, but you also have to think about, like, every time that you would get hit as a mage, you have the chance to go into hit recovery, and if you don't have fastest hit recovery, or even if you do, it's just like, that could kill you. But if you just missed, say, 50% of the time, but that time just happened to be the time that you would have died if you got, put in hit recovery, then you just, I don't know, there's just so much value in that to me. I guess it makes sense that that's why, like, it's not on this character. It is something that's either only on Elementalist and Mage, or only on Mage. Because the Mage was kind of struggling with an identity there. Where it was just kind of like the in-between of, the Warlock and the Elementalist, the Summoners. Like, he didn't really have the most damage. He had, like, his extra mana, which is cool, but it's not, like, something that really makes it play too much differently. Like, extra mana definitely helps, but it's not like, the be-all, end-all. And depending on, like, your gear situation, you might just get more mana if you found really good gear. So... wait to the end of the level to try the Poisoned Water Well quest.
No.
But it is cool to see perks only for the Warlock involve the Bone Spirit. You cut the divider down by, I think, a total of 2 if you invest 2 perk points into it. And Bone Spear is not something that I typically use, like, a lot. I mean, maybe with spells being much lower damage now, I will use it. But it's nice that the option is at least there, and that perk is very little investment for potentially a huge output. I think you do, like, 1/16 of a target's health with Bone Spirit, so if you cut it down by 2, the divider... Wait, let me read the wording here. Insulation. Oh, atrophy. Damage divider gets decreased by 1. Damage divider. So I'm not sure if it goes from like 1/16 to 1/15 damage, or if it would be like 1/16 to 1/8. And then from 1/8 to 1/4 of the enemy's health. But if it is just flat, and it doesn't involve, you know, going down by a fraction, by half each time, then I'd say that's pretty bad. There's already resistance and stuff to take into account. And then you have like bosses, which I think are... I'm not sure if it's all bosses or if it's only uber bosses, but I think at some point it's like 1/64th.
I have no room.
You can only take like a 1/64th of like the enemy's health, so like that would still have value on like Uber Diablo, but if it's gonna take up your perk slots for one fight, like I mean, it's probably not worth it.
Not enough mana. I cannot carry any more.
Even though I can't use potions anymore, it does give my relics a chance to shine. Before I would use, you know, typically 1 on my bar. It would just be like a relic to warp, just for those oh shit moments. I don't have any mana, I can't cast teleport, whatever, but now I can have 8 of them, so even if I fumble with my keys, I should hit one relic that helps me. I really want to pick out the skeletons first if I can, but it doesn't look like it's gonna happen like that.
Not enough mana.
Something else that I noticed, and I don't know if this was before I quit or just before that, but when I go to cast a spell that I don't have mana for, say if I were to cast 2 right now,
Not enough mana.
I would be able to get 2 off and I would go into negative mana before.
No.
So it's cool that that got fixed.
No.
It's not a huge deal,
Not
but
enough
it was
mana.
kind of one of those things you're just kind of like... I forgot to stash all my books.
Good day. How may I I serve you?
Guess I should keep these in case I find a shrine. Maybe one charge bolt book, just in case I level.
Hello, good friend.
Mana shield, alright. I guess I could buy some relic of manas. Like, it's not that big of a deal, but like, I'm not finding any
good
right
friend.
now, so.
I cannot cast that here.
Yeah, they're only 25 too. Should help in the quest level.
Hello, my friend. Greetings!
Nothing really high value in there. I noticed I have a decreased XP gain. I honestly didn't remember that when I signed up for hard mode. It was probably in there, but that's something a little strange. I don't really see like what increased experience percentage would really, like, you know, increase the difficulty with as. Like, typically you'd probably just have to grind a little bit further if things are doing 20% more damage to you and they act more aggressively. But I guess the experience percentage sort of just slows that down even more. Which I don't really mind, honestly. It's kind of hard to make new classes all the time. Because there's a lot of ideas that everyone has when they see a new perk or a new trait. And some of the bigger ones, like, come to mind. Like Grim Deal, for example. Like, I'm sure everyone flocked to that because it was such a insane, like, benefit. Like, even though, like, when I mapped it out, it doesn't make any sense, like, numbers-wise. Even under, like, you know, good circumstances, you could call it. I don't know. It takes a long time to make those characters into full characters. So it's like, if you have an idea, you better be really sure that idea is going to stick, because it takes a long time to make characters full max level, max stats, and then on top of that finding like the requisite gear to put it all together. And that's honestly why on my mage I never added perks in. I just knew that, okay, if this character has the mana perk and it has the highest potential on this like subclass, then I would definitely want to try that, or else there was not really much of a point to not play mage. Or, I mean, to just not play an elementalist, so. But I feel like it sort of takes away I don't know, the average difficulty that one could expect from the game. If people start talking about their experiences, and they've pretty much done it with all their perk points as they went along, their story is going to be a whole lot different than mine. They're going to think the game was probably a little bit easier than I did. Because even though I don't add into perk points, it's hard to, like, in your head be like, okay, if I had, say, 5 more DFE, however much more mana, I would be doing this much better. I shouldn't be able to wear this, right? Oh, I actually have +5 dex, wow. Now Warlock has different stat distribution, I think. I think he has a little bit more dexterity, goes up to 110 I think, but a lower max mana, maybe 220 or something. Not positive. But I still think that I should probably stat about the same. I'm a mage, I usually like to rush it up. But I don't know here. With gear the way that it's coming in, I should probably do something into strength or dex. I don't know. I'm gonna need 60 magic. No. I remember this mistake. I don't want to call it a mistake, but I didn't add into magic right away, and then you get to arcane bolt, and you pretty much just can't use it, and it's needed on some enemies to kill them. So it's nice to have that in the back. Well, I guess I have Rancid Bolt, so I don't even really need Arcane Star, really.
I cannot carry any more.
Well, that's pretty garbage. Can just toss that, I think. And add a lot of potions. Alright, I'll try this quest out. Nice and quick, like. So I forget the layout and what comes at me here, but if there's a lot of hiddens, I've got to save my mana. And I'm going to assume that it's best to use a big burst of spells and just wait so your regeneration can kick in. You're not walking around or interrupting your regeneration as more enemies show up. I'm surprised I'm getting so many amulets. I could have swore I hardly ever find them early game. Where's that firebolt? I have extra firebolt damage, so I should probably try it. Oh, it does display in your spellbook. That was something else a long time ago I didn't really remember happening. I thought it didn't display in your spellbook, like how you were getting a modified spell damage, but now it does. Very nice to see. Nice. Mid-quest level up. Since I have 15 dexterity with items, I'm gonna try and get up my strength for now. I guess it makes sense to use with mana shield. Jesus. Because, yeah, invisible enemies and enemies that are just a lot harder for my level range are in here, I think.
Not enough mana.
Not enough hotkeys for Firebolt, so guess I'm not going to use that. Already not a fan of no mana regeneration, or mana regeneration early game. On the note of regeneration, though, I saw that probably one of the biggest problems facing regeneration got somewhat fixed with traits.
Not enough mana.
So that at level 46, if you added into a trait, your regeneration wouldn't get cut when you were in combat. Or not when you were in combat, but when you were like walking and I think attacking. Which is one of the biggest reasons why I think that just straight lifesteal is always going to be regeneration builds, if those are even a thing. Well, I guess they are a thing. I've seen some videos. It can be pretty good, but the other biggest issue I saw was that on level 23 and 24, your total regeneration just gets cut by, I think, 25% on 23 and 50% on level 24. So it's not like, you know, every single place you go, you're just done with regeneration, but those last two levels are going to be much different and probably a lot worse feeling, because when you're used to walking around with a lot of something, like a lot of spell damage, and you just run into soul burners in multiplayer or something, like, it's just, it drives you insane to just go from like 100 to 0 like that. I get 2 levels in here? Holy cow.
Not enough mana.
Alright, it's probably one of the hardest enemies in here dead. And I was anxiously waiting for the trait of the mage, because it was the last one, you know, you didn't know about, and I thought there was a lot of ways you can kind of take it, and I'd kind of forgotten about the Warlock at that point. I didn't really know, like, it had its own thing. So I thought they were going to make a mana regeneration trait out of it. Which honestly I wouldn't like, but I thought, okay, if you're going to have like a life regeneration trait, then there's probably just thematically going to be one about mana regeneration. Even though I don't really like mana regeneration at all, and I don't think a lot of other people typically use it, at least like late game mage style.
I have no room.
$77 charges a ransom bolt. So all in all, I think it landed on a decent trait. You know, if each class is only going to have one trait, I think it was decent. Because a lot of the, like, more abstract things that you could think of, they could almost, like, ruin a class, in a sense. Like, I don't want to say they would ruin it, but if Assassin was the only class that could have a trait that did something, well, they have the best crit damage and crit chance, I think, so, in melee. So if you went ahead and made a trait that was something completely, they just took away, like, your crit chance or, like, your crit damage, it would probably be upsetting because, like, it's almost like one class lost its chance to use, like, a unique trait. Which sounds sort of weird, but, like, I feel like the polar classes sort of have to keep their traits. Like, you wouldn't have a spellcasting trait on an executioner. Like, even though it would be like, you know, you could do something with mana regen or something, it just seems like if you're gonna have a perk for that character, that wouldn't be the one you would do. There we go. Poison water's tied on. So it almost sort of luck to have, like, a fairly standard trait. Like, when I saw the Elementalist one and, like, the Warlocks, it made sense immediately, because it's like, okay, well, they're the only ones with poison damage and cold damage, so their trait is probably going to involve that. But I'll stop rambling for now. That's pretty good progress for one day. Get back into things. Might be a lot slower this time around compared to my old playthroughs and how fast I uploaded, but slow and steady wins the race. So, I'll catch you guys next time.